Hi, I am Brandon Darty, and I'm a field application engineer with FARO Insight. And today we are going to be looking at our statistics for projects so that we can better tell if our project is put together correctly or if we need to make changes to it. So let's just jump right into our project here. We can see that I've got a cluster 1 and 2 over here with about 19 scans, and I've already run the course and the fine registration between them. So to first look at our clusters, we need to click on the cluster we want to look at and click Registration View. Now, on this project, it can be a little difficult to see the actual connections unless you use some of our tools here. We can totally get rid of our point cloud with this button down here to see our tools, or we can use our smart clipping box to give us a better idea of our walls and other surrounding objects so that we can see how our connections go together. And we'll talk about the connections in a second, but how I got this project first aligned was I ran a course registration and then I ran a fine registration. This is just top view and cloud to cloud to those users that haven't really delved into interactive registration too much. But after that, a statistic will pop up and let us know how it was registered together. So not only do we have the connections on screen to see how well it was done, but also the scan manager right here. So the first thing that you're going to want to check is, do you have any of these X's? This will let us know that one or more of our scans is missing a connection to other scans. So if you've registered half of your project together and the other half together, but there's a missing link, you might have 50 X's that can just be solved by adding another connection. So we're going to definitely add our connection to scan 15, the one that we can see right here, to make our scans go together better. But first, let's look at our statistics as well. That can be done in the scan points error right here. So this is a cloud-to-cloud connection project where I just didn't use any targets. And we can see that we have our connections between all of our scans. So scan 18 and scan 12 is my highest error value. It is always sorted by the maximum error at first, so we can see which connection we usually want to tackle if we want to delete any of them. We can also sort by overlap. So here we see that I have a yellow connection, and that is because it is under 25% of overlap here. So by sorting by overlap, I can very easily find my yellow-red connections due to overlap. And you can find out which connections these are on larger projects if you just double-click on a scan in the left-hand column. And it brings you right to that connection. Same thing goes for our worst error value. It brings us right to it, and then we could right-click and potentially delete it if we want to. But we'll leave that for a second. And I want to kind of look at why we have different colored connections. So if we go to our settings, registration, and then scroll all the way down, we have the ability to change what Scene deems to be green, yellow, and red. This is completely up to you how you want to denote these. I've changed mine to better suit my project needs, but if you need lower or higher tolerances, you can change them right here. So I have 0.15 inches, 0.25 inches, so that means anything under 0.15 inches is going to be a green connection. Anything in between will be yellow, and anything over 0.25 will be red. I've done the same thing for my target connections as well. Now, I also have this overlap color coding, which I've left at defaults, and I think they're pretty good. But just like we saw in our project, this connection, if I go back to my statistics, is yellow despite my worst error being under 0.15 inches. So if you have overlap that is under the threshold to make it green, it will be yellow or red, even if the error value is good. Same thing goes for if the error value is bad but the overlap is good, you will have a yellow or red connection potentially. And of course, even if my green, yellow, and red was at 1 inch, I could easily see if I want my tolerances lower, I can bring them down just based on the error value here. So green, yellow, and red is just Scene telling you what to look out for. So right here, I could delete this connection, I could keep it, it's totally up to me. So now that we've kind of went over the idea of these connections, let's talk about adding some connections here. So I can just click from connection to connection, and then refine, optimize, and update. Now when I refine my connections, this is me just adding in these two connections. When I color connections by pairwise error, it is just going to look at how these scans are talking to each other. So this scan and this scan, it's only looking at that. But if I select color connections by global error, it is going to be only after I update statistics. And this is deciding how everything is talking to each other. So sometimes you can get a green, yellow, or red connection inside of the pairwise error, and then it could change to a different one in the global error because it might be talking better or worse with the overall project. And another note is when we optimize to move our scans and then update, after clicking update or clicking find registration, it will automatically move from color connections by pairwise error to color connections by global error. So once again, understanding the difference between pairwise error and global error, pairwise is just how two scans are talking to each other, and then global is how all of them are moving based on all the conversations they're having with each other. I like to say it like it's a big game of tug of war versus two people playing tug of war. And now that we've added those connections in, we can see we no longer have the X and we have this stoplight here, which is good. That means that we have our connections where we want, and we can go into those scan point errors and see that we have our error values here. So I can double click on a connection, see my worst error, and I can just right click, delete if I want to. I can do the same thing for my yellow connection over here, delete, and then I can optimize and update. And what's nice is you can even have multiple of these scan point errors up, and you can see how they have influenced each other. So here, although it's only went down by 0.001, which is very small, the 13 to 11 has went down by 0.002. We can see how they've matched up here. So sometimes deleting connections can make your scan statistics better. Sometimes it can raise them a little bit. You're just trying to find that balancing act. And you can do that in the scan point errors results. So that is for one cluster. And now that I have put together my cluster 2 better, I can look at my overall project here, and I have cluster 1 and cluster 2. So cluster 1's already been put together well. We can see that by this scan manager right here. It being green means that it's fully put together, as well as the error values are underneath my tolerance. So even if I had a yellow connection here, I would know it's overlap based just by the fact that this scan manager is green. A red scan manager, like the one we have for the scans cluster, means that clusters 1 and 2 have not fully been registered yet. Now, although I have already added my connections in, because I changed the overall registration of cluster 2, I need to now optimize and update again. So I click optimize and update, and notice We're already in color connections by global error, so we will see the global error results here. And now, once again, we have these stoplights, letting us know that our clusters have been connected. If I click Scan Point Errors, I only see the connections from blue to orange because I'm looking at how clusters 1 and 2 are put together. But because my scan managers are unlocked here, I need to look at how my other values have changed. And I can do that with the full hierarchy button right here, and that will load all of my error values. Once again, double-clicking, I can find my worst connection, and I can choose to delete it if I want to. We can see that the scan manager over by scans is now green as well, letting us know that it is fully put together. Now we're just going to look at a target project just to show the difference between targets and the cloud to cloud. Now we have jumped into a project that has targets in it, and you can see it's not put together yet. Luckily, targets are super quick as long as you've put them together correctly in your scene, and you can click target-based registration, and your scans go together. We're going to ignore these statistics really quick just to look at our connections. And just like before, we have these connections between scan, but this time scan and targets. So whether you have checkerboards or spheres, you will see this. And just to see this a little better, we can see we've got green, yellow, and red just like before. We also can see the targets that aren't being used, some false targets up here. So you can very easily, if you wanted to, delete connections just like before. Say, don't use this target from this scan. And we'll be doing that later, but let's take a look at our project here. And we have those red and yellow connections over here. Once again, I can go to my statistics by clicking Show Statistics. And this time, I don't go to Scan Point Errors. I can go to Target Tensions. And in here, I have my sphere 21 showing a very large error, and some other ones going down, still pretty large compared to what it should be. So what I can do is double-click, and it will bring me right to that sphere. I can also right-click and see the scans that it's a part of, or see them right over here. So in this, I can see that there's a problem with one of my spheres here. I could just right-click and set an anti-correspondence, basically saying, don't use this sphere at all. Or I could just click on what I think is the bad connection, delete it, and then optimize and update. And we saw that little shift there. And this just came from someone moving the target, picking it up, and trying to put it back down right where it was supposed to go. But you can never do that, so we had to delete that connection being used. Looking at our scan results, we see no X's over here. That's great. We don't have any scan point errors because this is target registration. So I can just see the targets here. Once again, looking at this, I can double-click, find that this is my worst overall error. And then I can see that if I zoom out, scan 1 all the way over here is the longest connection. So if I wanted to, I could right-click, delete the sphere, optimize, and update. Going to targets, you can see that we no longer have that pulling there, and it has changed some of my statistics. Notice that sphere 1 was 0.0924, and we don't have that here now. So changing your statistics changing one connection can change everything, as you saw with the one that was out of place. Lastly, just to show off our connection right here, you can see I did not have a connection between this scan and this scan, even though they were close to each other. I didn't have the targets necessary to leave them there. So I'm just going to add a connection, refine, optimize, and update. And this will show you the idea of having both targets and cloud-to-cloud on a project. Now, you could do this for all of the scans or just the ones that don't have targets. It's up to you. So it's refining. And then once we optimize and update, this will affect the overall target registration error as well. So sometimes adding a connection cloud-to-cloud based will make the targets a little bit higher on the error value. So I just refined. Usually this would change color, but because we ran a target registration, it immediately went to the global error. I switch back to the pairwise error between two scans, and it's green, letting me know it is good for my tolerances I set. Now I optimize and update, and we can see now we have one scan point error for our cloud-to-cloud connection. And if I go to target tensions, we can see that Sphere 7 actually just increased around 0.01 or 0.02 inches. So that is how we can use our scan manager to see our connections that are good, make sure that we delete the ones that we don't by just double-clicking on either the target or the left-hand scan, and it brings us right to it. So use that scan manager to help make your projects better and find those issues in your project.